Hello everyone and welcome back to another Minecraft update video. This is Snapshot 20w49a and it's a moment that many of us have been waiting for. The Sculk Sensor has been added in this snapshot. And this thing is marvelous. If you are unaware of what the Sculk Sensor is, it's going to be a massive game changer for Redstone. And there is a lot of technical stuff to investigate with this block, which we are going to be doing later on in this video. So I know you're probably as excited as I am to see this thing in action. But we're going to be doing that after a couple of other things. Now, this snapshot also introduces Dripstone caves, and we can see them down here. There is a catch, however. These are currently not generating in normal worlds. So the biome has been added to the game, but it's not part of world generation. So you'll need to create a world, go into more world options, select a single biome, and then pick one out from the list. Obviously, you're going to be picking the Dripstone caves. So the biome is in the game, but you'll have to tell the world to generate it specifically. And so now when we head underground, we have these dripstone caves just about everywhere, and they come in all different shapes and sizes. But one thing I will say is that these do just feel like regular caves at the moment, except with some added dripstone. So you got the blocks and the stalagmites hanging from the ceiling, coming up from the ground, but otherwise the shapes and the layout, they kind of feel the same. So with this view here, we can see that the world actually kind of looks pretty normal. There's no big cave formation or something that jumps out. Essentially just regular caves with bits of dripstone inside of it. However, there is this over here, a massive formation of the dripstone block in the middle of this ravine. So that is an obvious feature that is added in this generation. But other than something like that, it really feels like these just occupy parts of regular caves. And so it is my guess that this feature isn't fully implemented yet. Remember, these are snapshots and Mojang tend to roll things out a bit at a time. So I imagine in the future the dripstone caves are going to get more interesting. So before we get to the Sculk Sensor, there's a couple of other details to go over in this snapshot. This will be brief. So first of all, we have the bundle here. As you can see, it's showing us its fullness, and that is no longer dependent on showing you the advanced tooltips. I think that's a smart move because it's kind of hidden behind something technical. So now bundles will always show their fullness. So the pointed dripstones can connect together, and we used that in the last snapshot to make some interesting patterns. Well, there is now a way to actually avoid this, and that is to hold down shift. So I'm holding down shift at the moment, and that will cause them not to connect. If I do that again when I'm not holding shift, you can see that they connect together. So I think that's a reasonable change right there. Now when it comes to bug fixes, pretty much everything is related to the latest snapshot cycle, so there's only two things for me to show you. This first one is just to do with absorption hearts. There's some inconsistencies here. So when I go over the wither, notice how the hearts themselves have no texture. And when I take freezing damage, they get completely messed up. So obviously this has been fixed. Here's what the wither rose looks like. You can see the absorption heart displays correctly, and it displays correctly for freezing damage. And this one other bug I want to share with you is related to my last snapshot video, where I seem to be insanely unlucky not getting a cauldron to fill up, even though I was running the tick speed at 1,000 times more than normal. Well, it turns out that there was a bug. If you had a gap of 2, the cauldrons wouldn't fill up. As you can see, that has been taken care of. Also, some quick news regarding the Minecraft launcher. There was an update that added some significant things. For example, there is now support to log in with a different account type. So now you have Mojang accounts and Microsoft accounts. If you log in with one of those, you can now use this launcher to launch Minecraft dungeons. As well as that, there are also some warnings added to the different types of Minecraft you can launch. For example, this one right here will tell you that the installation has been modified, and if you go with an older version of the game, there is also a notification for that. So my friends, it's finally time for the Sculk Sensor, and I'm going to be focusing on all the technical details and explaining as much about this block as I can to you. Not so much integrating it with Redstone and things like that, but hey, let's jump into this. First of all, this is the only block to be added. So if you've seen the Minecon previews or some tweets from the devs, you'll know that there are other blocks related to the Sculk Sensor. This is coming here into the game on its own, and it doesn't have a recipe to begin with, but it does have a tool of choice. So if we jump into survival mode, that tool is the hoe. This is the one that you'll need to break the Sculk Sensor, and and it can also be waterlogged, as you can see right here. So the Minecraft website says, introducing the bizarre tendril-filled world of Sculk. Prepare for Sculk Sensors to creep you out with their unique ability to detect vibrations nearby. And this is a whole new system that's been added into the game. So what you might think of as a vibration might not be what has been programmed. It says though that a vibration is anything that causes physical motion. If you are careful, there are some motions that are undetectable to sensors by sneaking. So if we walk into this area here, we are going to activate the Sculk sensor. And if we do that when we're holding down shift, this is one of those activities that can be avoided by holding shift. Another one is falling down. So let's drop down, we activate the Sculk sensor. This time we're going to hold down shift and you can see we land without activating it. And the one other thing listed is projectiles. So if I throw that off into the distance, we activate the Sculk sensor. If I do it when holding shift, it doesn't get activated. Now the Sculk sensor doesn't pick up vibrations from other Sculk sensors. So if I jump down over here, we'll activate this one. That one isn't activated by this one here. Now when it does detect a vibration, it takes time to reach the Sculk sensor. So when we go in its range, there is actually an amount of time based on how far we are away. And that is 1 tick for every single block. So now we're going to move when we're real close to it. And you'll see that it gets activated almost instantly. And then from back here, it takes a little bit longer. And so that is 1 tick per block between the Sculk sensor and the source location of the vibration. And if you didn't know, there are 20 game ticks inside of a second. And the Sculk sensor itself will stay activated for 40 ticks, which is 2 seconds. Now placing a block, for example, will activate the Sculk sensor. Placing it when holding shift will also activate it. And so I'm going to use this to demonstrate two things. The Sculk sensor can't be activated twice. So when I place down another block, it's not extending the duration of its detection. So when it is in this mode here, it will be unable to detect other vibrations. And also when the signal is traveling to it. While it's traveling, it's not going to detect any others. Now the radius of detection is 8 blocks, and this is what it looks like in terms of me placing down blocks at this level right here. When I put it on the cyan, it will get detected, and when I put it on the white wall, it won't. And now's probably a good time to tell you that this can get activated through blocks as well. So the wall here isn't preventing the Sculk sensor from detecting me placing and breaking the block. Now you probably know this, but Sculk sensors, when they are being activated, are emitting a redstone signal. And this was the best way I could think of demonstrating this. It actually involves a resource pack that is putting the number value of the strength of the signal down. So the closest place we can generate a signal from is right next to the Sculk sensor. And you'll see here it outputs a signal strength of 14. Then we go away by one more block and it is 12. And you know where this is going. We have 10. Then we have 8 at this level, 6, 4, all the way down to 2. Now there is one block left and we're going down by 2 signal strength each time. When I break this, you'll see the very last one at the edge of the distance is only 1. So it goes from 14 in increments of 2 down to 2, and the very last one is a signal strength of 1. Now there are 2 ways in which you can get a redstone signal out of the Sculk sensor, because it also has what's known as a vibration frequency, and I think this is a really fantastic feature. If I step down on the ground and activate this thing, we get an output of 1. And notice how that doesn't change if I'm close to the Sculk sensor or if I'm over here far away. Although, because I just dropped down on the ground, that would have been a bit stronger. So there are different frequencies for different events. So when I land, we have a frequency of 5. Shooting a projectile has a frequency of 7, whereas the Sculk sensor detecting it landing will have a value of 8. So placing a block is 12, and breaking it is 13. But then opening a block is 11, and closing it is 10. And there is a whole bunch of these, so what I'm probably going to do right now is kind of edit all of the different things you can do and their values onto the screen. And if ever you want that reference, you can pause this video, or probably better yet, just check out the list on the website. It's linked in the description box below. Now the Sculk sensor also has an interesting interaction, or lack of, with wall blocks. This is known as wall occlusion. So when I place these down or I break them, they are not going to be activating the Sculk sensor. This will also be able to stop other vibrations from reaching the Sculk sensor. As you can see, placing blocks over here, it's not actually reaching the Sculk sensor. If we put it in line like this though, you can see the particle effect goes all the way over to it, and then if I place blocks in this area, it's able to directly reach it. Now this sort of works three-dimensionally as well, which can get really tricky to figure out, but I do believe I know exactly what's going on here. Where the effect is generated is the line of sight that it has to the Sculk sensor that it follows. However, this can be a little bit quirky and based on direction. As you'll see here, when it's on this side, it can't reach the Sculk sensor. When we swap that around, it can. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is a whole new system that's been built, and their definition of vibrations might change from yours, but they have provided us with a list of the game events that will activate the Sculk sensor. So again, if you want to grab all of these, best just to head over to the website and you've got a list of all of them. Now there are also tags that comes with these events, which means it can be modified by data packs. So the vibrations tag list will determine which game events are detected by the Sculk sensor, and here you can see what's inside of this file. And there is also a tag list for which things they will ignore as well, and here is what's inside of that tag list. And it's quite likely this is going to cause a lot of discussion about things that should or shouldn't activate the Sculk sensor. For example, an interaction like this doesn't. Also, we can learn a few more things about this by pressing F3. You can see that it has a Sculk sensor phase on the side there, so it can be active or inactive. There is also a cooldown, which happens for like 1 tick after a block is placed. You can see it there just for a second, and after it becomes unpowered. Also over here I've got a piston hooked up. This block can't be moved by pistons, it can't be moved with the slime block, and as you'll see over here, an observer will detect changes and create a signal as expected. And one last thing that hasn't really been too obvious so far this video, multiple Sculk sensors can pick up a vibration from the same source at the same time, so you can see the effects going out to all 4 of these. And I think just one last thing to mention here is that 2 new particle effects were added, vibration and dust color transition. However, when I tried to use the command to show them off, it seems to break it, as opposed to using some other sort of command here that seems to be acceptable. So you've seen it already. And of course, there were lots of new sounds. I've had the sounds turned up for this video so you can get a feel for what this is like. And I believe that covers everything. What's obviously going to be interesting now is what all the Redstoners do with this stuff to make cool and new contraptions. And I myself will be tinkering around with these when I get some time, but that is it from me this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do leave a like, and if you're not subscribed and you want to keep up to date with 1.17 in these snapshots, you know what to do. And so that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.